Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to provide testimony. It's a great honor to be with you. Your original request was directed at my colleague, Nathalie Ekenau, our leading expert on Qatar. She had a conflict, so I, as her supervisor, who leads our work on the Arabian Peninsula, am substituting. Let me first briefly introduce us, the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. FDD is a non-partisan think tank dedicated to safeguarding America's national security and advancing US interests. We combine rigorous research, strategic advocacy, and legislative action to shape US foreign policy on the main threats that the US faces, including Iran's nuclear ambitions, China's expanding influence, Russia's war of aggression, cyber and information warfare, and extremist ideologies. FDD does not take any foreign government funding. That independence allows us to speak clearly, act boldly, and influence policy at the highest levels of US government on Capitol Hill and within the executive branch. My own background is mainly on the Middle East and counterterrorism, not on China. So I will not offer any introductory remarks on China, although if you ask me any questions on it, I will answer to the best of my ability. Having spent 5 years working for the United Nations Security Council, I am somewhat versed in Chinese objectives, at least in that forum. On Qatar, I have one central point that I would like to make. Qatar is a very small, extremely wealthy country with global political and ideological ambitions. If you look only at Qatari nationals, as opposed to the expatriates who make up nearly 90% of the population, it is by far the richest country on earth per capita. The Qatar Investment Authority manages a sovereign wealth fund of more than $500 billion US. In a monarchy and tribal society totaling just 1/3 Qatari nationals, there is a high degree of social and political cohesion behind the deployment of this national wealth, which has been used over decades to acquire massive strategic investments overseas. At the same time, Qatar has consistently pursued an Islamist agenda, sponsoring Hamas and the wider Muslim Brotherhood, and playing host to Al Jazeera, a media empire that mimics independent journalism, but which actually promotes an Islamist agenda and never criticizes the Qatari state. FDD is cataloging total Qatari investments in the United States. Right now, it's hovering around $430 billion on our tracker. Now, that is only our tracker, and that number itself is in peer review, and it's still climbing. So, at any rate, we're talking something in the order of $500 billion there. So, to be safe, probably the best way to express this is to say that they have certainly over $400 billion in investments, grants, and pledges since the year 2000 in the United States of America. The money is spread across the country in nearly every sector, from defense and energy to real estate, education, and sports. So I guess my sort of concluding point, in as much as there is advice to be given, it is just to beware of Qatari investment. If you welcome it, obviously you'll be doing very much the same thing that many other countries have done. Americans have done it, the Brits have done it, the Qataris have successfully invested in so many other of the world's major economies. So it's not as if Canada would be doing anything that was unusually reckless. And of course, it's extremely tempting on economic grounds because it brings large amounts of capital into the country. It can be very good for the economy, but it does come with strings attached. It comes as part of a strategic campaign for influence. So your media, your schools, your universities will be targeted over time by the Qataris for Islamist purposes. And I'll close my remarks there.